I tell my chief of staff, Matt Cronellis, frequently that I have brought art into his life, but I still don't have him convinced. Open space is becoming a precious commodity in Methuen. I am pleased to report that the city recently received a state grant to update its open space plan. This will allow us to better identify open space and ways to preserve it. The Nevins Library continues to be the cultural hub of Methuen. I look forward to working with the library on future activities as I have done in the past. Despite the economic difficulties in Massachusetts, we have managed to maintain funding for our library and our senior center. Our library remains accredited, and I will, in the upcoming budget, recommend to the City Council sufficient funding to maintain that accreditation. I will also be working with and supporting the Methuen Rail Trail Alliance and continuing my efforts to construct a new clubhouse at the football stadium so that our student athletes have modern locker room facilities. Over the past 5 years, I am proud to say that we have improved Methuen's financial position. We have, through aggressive financial management, put ourselves $3.5 million below the Proposition 2.5 levy limit. We have slowly built reserves back, although they are not where they should be. But achieving financial security for the city has come at some expense, both from employees and from capital investment. We have, quite frankly, been forced to underfund needed capital acquisitions. I will, in the next 2 weeks, submit to the City Council a capital improvement plan that will outline areas that I believe need investment. I have done what needed to be done to stabilize our finances, but it is a fundamental deception to pretend that government does not need to make capital investments or that such spending is wasteful or not worth paying for. We must strike the right balance on that issue, and I hope the plan that we submit will begin an adult conversation on spending and taxes. We should consider additional allocations towards financial reserves for the city. What the proper level of those reserves should be can be discussed, but it is my belief that we need to do more to build those reserves and create a stronger financial picture for the municipal bond market. As I begin my final year in office, I look forward to working with citizens and business people alike on many of the critical initiatives that I have outlined here tonight. I am sure that this year, like years prior, will bring many challenges. But as long as we remain focused and positive, the state of our city will remain strong. I thank all of you for the privilege of serving as mayor. God bless all of you, and God bless the city of Methuen. Thank you. I would be happy to take questions if there are any questions from the audience. We did not lay off officers in the last budget, though before we reached agreement with the 9 city-side unions, the potential was there for layoffs. As a matter of fact, I sent layoff notices, I think, across the city, and it included both police and fire. In terms of detail monies, and specifically the ones that you mentioned, those go to individual offices and not to the city. And the city does derive an administrative fee for those. And I can't quite remember what the rate is. It may be 10% of the total as administrative fee, but all of those monies are paid on a detail rate basis to the individual officers who work. So they would in no way either help us or assist us in keeping police officers on the street. The question was relative to the meals tax and the local option on the meals tax, which would allow Methuen, through legislative action, to add 3/4 of a point to the meals tax. That is essentially a question for the City Council, but I think that we were in agreement last year that we would not move that forward. And I think, from my perspective, when I look at the problems that are out there and some of the things I talked about in the remarks tonight, which would be health care and pensions, yes, additional revenues do need to be looked at. But I think that if we continue to go down the road that we're going, uh, whether it be a little bit of an increase in the meals tax, whether it be hikes in property tax, we will not be able to sustain the model. So I think that the city council, I can't speak for them, but I think that they were looking to hold the line on revenues and say that we were going to try to balance the budget on the expense side and hold both my feet to the fire and the department's feet to the fire and say that we do not want, at least for this year, to see additional tax burden placed on the citizens of Methuen. Additionally, even though you are correct, New Hampshire is higher. With the sales tax debate at the State House, I think most of us politically in Methuen were against an increase in the sales tax. I know I was. State Representative Campbell was. So having said that, I think it would have been a little hypocritical of us to advocate the meals tax after we so strongly advocated against the sales tax. The question that is asked is about municipal unions and whether I think philosophically that they've embraced some of the changes. Yeah, but I've said it all along. I think even in tonight's remarks, we talked about the unsustainability of the economic model. However, let me say this. For me, it's a two-pronged question. Number one, I'm the mayor of Methuen, so my answer is going to be centered around what I've done in Methuen and that interrelationship with the unions here. In Methuen, what we've had is 2 years, not only of zeros, but of negatives. And that would be both in givebacks and in healthcare increases. The unions in Methuen have not acted like they have statewide in many cases. They have worked with us, and I think that at this point you have to understand that they have honestly taken pay cuts, and substantial ones when you factor in the healthcare increase that they themselves have agreed to. Now, I know that before I became mayor, I don't know the exact number, but the staff at the Nevins Library, I believe, went 5 full years without a pay increase. And that means not 0.5%, not 1%, nothing. 5 years, I believe it was. So they did not get to go along with any of the increases that occurred in that period of time. And I think that my point here is that there's got to be a give and take in both respects. You cannot engage in a race to the bottom. So I think that I've been an advocate for the unions working with us. I think they have. But I do not think that we're going to be in a position where you can tell working people that they're not entitled to health care, good health care, and they're not entitled to pensions. And I don't think that you can provide services always on a basis where you use, for example, contract labor. I think there's a mix here, and I think we have to change our way of doing business, but it's not always going to be cut and slash and burn. There's going to have to be a mixture here. And as you said, I'm not a candidate for re-election, so I can say it. I think you need to have an honest discussion with taxpayers about what their tax dollars are buying, what do they want to see for services, and what do they not want to see. And if you have that honest discussion and you try to at least sort of subjugate politics a little bit for that discussion, I think that we could all be better off, and we need that discussion to happen. Keep in mind, with $3.5 million below the 2.5 levy limit, this city has done very well by its taxpayers. I think that we have worked on that. When Karen Sawyer was here as our development director, she actually had a couple of active leads, and at one point I thought we had a deal there. Unfortunately, as you know, government can do so much, but ultimately it's the private sector that makes the investment and creates the jobs. In this case, it's been dormant because there are challenges on the site. It's not as big as it looks. There are parking issues there, but having said all that, we have had in the last 30 to 45 days a serious inquiry on it. So that has started to percolate again. I'm not at liberty to say who it is, but it is a serious inquiry, and hopefully we'll be able to do something there. I do agree with you. That whole area has had a very good level of improvement and business addition, and that would be a wonderful way to cap it off. It is a bit of an eyesore, and I would hope that we could both get rid of it and add value there by adding a business that brings some jobs. Well, okay, I get off easy. Councilor Hajer, did you have a question? No, you didn't. Okay. All right. It's the first time ever. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for attending, and please help yourself to coffee and donuts before you go. Thank you.